Quit putting X's on the clothing. I get one more X on my clothing on next year's Super Bowl.
Welcome to this bonus episode of Irritable Dad Syndrome. Aren't you special? Now, here are your hosts, Mike and Darin.
Okay.
Well,
Welcome to the bonus episode of Irritable Dad Syndrome, where we aim to make you ask, wow,
Why?
Did I pay for this? Really?
Oh, come on. They're gonna be thrilled to hear
You're
this.
gonna get the you're gonna be thrilled to hear this. You hear the new theme song. There's a new theme song they just heard.
Yes.
You're gonna get like stickers and a mug and something.
Yeah,
you know,
a hoodie eventually.
for quote free.
Yeah. And remember,
Yeah,
this is an exclusive.
this is
Only people who are in the loyalty program can hear this.
literally. All right. Now, so when other companies and other groups say this is exclusive, there's always like a fan club or whatever that downloads it and it's on the internet within minutes.
Right.
We are not that popular.
No.
Ain't nobody downloading this
No.
and re-uploading it anywhere.
No, they're
so
not.
you are literally getting this exclusively. And,
No.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
yeah,
Well, maybe I'm speculating. Do you think that the members of this program are gonna have exclusive parties? It's like, hey, I'm a member of this thing.
I'm banking on it.
It's like
Yeah.
when you get The Fight on HBO, and then 20 of your closest friends come over to watch the fight. Maybe.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because one of my favorite things, one of the things that drove me into podcasting, and we haven't really discussed this, but why not discuss it live on the first bonus episode?
Right. This
is
isn't live.
Some of my podcast heroes have created events that are completely around them.
Right.
You get enough people in the loyalty program. Yeah, we can have events. We can do things. We can have a crowbar event.
I'm not talking about us having events.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the members of the loyalty program.
Them?
Are going to download this exclusive episode only for members of the loyalty program.
Okay.
And then he/she is going to bring 20 people in and say, come over to my house Tuesday and we're going to listen to this exclusive episode of this podcast.
Now, I would recommend against that.
Okay.
I would recommend that each person become a member of the loyalty program themselves.
See, that's what I'm saying. So we seriously need to frown upon that.
So if you
because
have
if you
friends,
do that, you'll be banned from the loyalty program.
Well, I mean, my kids got to eat.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
This portion of Irritable Dad Syndrome is brought to you by Diff Liquid Concentrated Wallpaper Stripper. With its unique enzyme action, Diff dissolves old paste and cuts wallpaper removal time in half. Your time is cut in half with Diff. Hi, this is Dave Lay. I've been around a long time. In my many adventures in this world, I've seen fast cars, wild bars, and women so hot they'd melt the floor under your feet. But I've never seen anything quite like the wallpaper stripping power of Diff. Oh, and did I mention that no steamer is needed? I know, it sounds too good to be true, but I'm serious as a pimp on payday. No steamer is needed when removing wallpaper with Diff. Look for Diff wherever quality wallpaper stripper is sold. Diff is the only one that really works.
That's right.
Speaking of being banned, and this pains me to say this.
are you banned?
No. I'm not banned.
You're going to talk about Christopher.
I'm going to talk about Christopher Hughes. Okay. I think it was episode 2-3 of our podcast where this jerk got banned from our show. Okay. He pissed me off because I said something about Chick-fil-A and he tried to be like a funny guy. Right. And then he got banned from the podcast because I warned him and then he just kept going. He just kept pushing. He just kept digging in.
Well, you knew this jerk.
I've known him for quite some time.
I call him a jerk by proxy.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
Oh, trust me.
Now, I will say
you don't need to know him to know he's a jerk.
I'll say that every interaction that I've had with Chris Hughes, he's a very polite person.
Right.
He's very nice. He's very kind.
That's what he wants you to think.
But you have a major problem with him.
Well, I'm the one who banned him from the show.
Yeah.
And then you've since agreed, gotten on board, and then you've always agreed with me on why we've banned him.
That was back around episode, like you said, 2, 3. This thing was just starting.
Right.
I didn't want to disagree with you.
Right.
We're 45
now you don't
in.
have a problem with disagreeing with me. Yeah.
Wait until we hit 100. We'll be at each other's throats in these episodes.
I'll be throwing more pins at you.
Exactly. So at this point, I think Chris Hughes is a pretty dope guy.
Well, that leads me to a decision that we've made.
Yes.
So for all the members of this loyalty program,
unanimously.
No, it wasn't. It was close.
Okay.
So we had we talked about this on episode 45.
Yeah.
Had a cookout. Okay.
Exactly.
And you and I were there. Dave Lay was there. Okay. Yeah. We're the 3 primary members of Irritable Dad Syndrome Incorporated.
3 voices you hear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jason Durbin was there.
Yeah. Another fan.
A major fan.
Major fan.
Jason Durbin has contributed financially to the show. He likes the show so much he has backed it financially.
Yep.
And Chris Michael, 2-time listener of the week.
Yeah. And owner of a t-shirt.
Yes. Yes. So the 5 of us were there and we had a discussion.
Okay.
And we brought it up. Should we unban Chris Hughes from the podcast? It was a heated discussion. Very, very heated. People vehemently know there was like one person who I won't name who said, "Why don't we give the guy a shot?" I don't know why he sounded like Jay Leno, but he did. Anyway, we brought it up for a discussion.
Yeah.
We brought it up for a vote. Final vote, 3-2, that Chris Hughes will be unbanned from the podcast.
Yes, a simple majority.
Yeah.
So we don't. It was close. We don't need a super majority for this.
No, we don't. No,
Irritable Dad Syndrome Incorporated.
The votes win.
Now, I will say, that this vote was cast and counted under the influence of
Yingling,
charred wieners.
Yes.
Charred wieners.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. We were a little sun-baked.
Heat exhaustion.
Yes.
Bone sucking mustard.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot went into this decision. We were not of sound mind.
No, we weren't.
As one would say.
That being said,
however, we stand by our word.
We stand by the vote.
He's unbanned.
He is unbanned.
So
now I also want to say that just because he's unbanned, that's not permanent.
No.
Okay.
He could be banned again in a heartbeat.
If he starts that again.
Yeah.
He's back on the ban list.
Would you say he's on probation?
I would say so.
So if you go to jail for kidnapping, 10 to 15 years,
they let you out.
They let you out. You don't just
go all willy-nilly, do whatever the hell you want.
And steal somebody again.
Right.
You have to call in to your parole officer and that type of thing.
I think that Chris Hughes should wear an ankle bracelet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really want to know where he is at any given time.
I don't either. But anyway.
But I would think it would be neat.
Yeah.
And you've poo-pooed this idea in the past.
What's that?
It'd be neat to have him on the show.
I'm not having him on our show. I'm just not going to do it. Why would I want to have him on the show? And Chris Hughes like, "Hey, everybody, I'm Chris Hughes, and I'm funny guy, and ha, 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 ha."
Yeah.
It's like, if he wants to be on a podcast, he can get his own podcast.
Okay.
And then, you know what? We can call him up.
Okay.
And we can act like, "Hey, I'm funny guy."
Waka, waka, waka.
Well, what's to stop it from just saying he has a podcast and calling in? Because we would know.
Oh, because, he's never lied before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So things are getting a little, I've hit a nerve, I can tell. I don't know what Chris Hughes did to you in your past.
All I know is Chris Hughes, despite everything, despite being banned from this show, he's banned from the show. So he listened to it against our will.
He was breaking rules.
He liked the show so much. He says, "I'm going to listen to it anyway."
Yeah.
It's like during the Prohibition when people made their own alcohol anyway.
Yeah.
They wanted the alcohol so much that they made it themselves and they sold it underground. So I kind of got to admire the guy.
His judgment's a little impaired.
Yeah. But I admire him for listening to it despite us telling him, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because that's how much he likes it. And then he says, "I'm going to financially back this podcast."
Yeah. Did he buy it? Did he buy his way back into the good graces of the podcast?
Now that's the thing. Are we setting a bad example?
Are we whores?
I think we are whores.
Okay.
It's like, are we setting a bad example?
Yeah.
Are we telling kids, like, listen, it's like, if you screw up and do all this bad crap and
just
piss
pay your
people
way
off,
out of it.
just throw some money at the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that the right example we should set for our children, Mike?
I think.
You and I don't have children together, but
right? Yeah.
I
think it's a good plan.
Okay.
Yeah. If you have the money, buy your way out.
So we're just going to take his money,
yes,
and then let the problem go away.
Yes.
Okay. All
right.
Well, Chris, welcome back to Irritable Dad Syndrome, and we thank you for being a loyal member.
Yeah. So to kick off the bonus episode
Yes.
that as of right now...
This is going to be the first of many.
The first of many. As of right now, Chris Hughes is the only person who will hear this. So let's just say the quality department is down the road having a drink now.
My wife asked me before I left, she goes, "You're making a podcast for one guy?" I'm like,
Yeah.
In theory,
Yeah.
yeah.
In theory, yes.
Down the road.
Now, other people reach the same level. They have access to all the previous content.
Yeah.
So some jerk in the future, 12 months down the line, becomes one of these type of members. They get all these bonus episodes.
Yes.
Right now, that's not fair to Chris Hughes.
Right.
But, you know, him. But he also gets all the exclusive merch. I mean, there's a lot of prestige.
Yes, there is.
In being a
so just because he's our only member right now, there's going to be other people.
Exactly.
And when these other people sign up,
I really hope so.
They will listen to this episode and think, maybe he's making a podcast about me.
That's true.
Maybe.
This portion of Irritable Dad Syndrome is brought to you by Guadalupe Shrimp Po' Boy Palace. Hi, I'm Dave Lay. The sandwiches at Guadalupe's are made from the freshest lettuce, homemade bang bang sauce, and shrimp caught that day. These sandwiches taste so good you'll come back the next day wanting more. With 9 locations in the U.S., Canada, and Vermont, there's bound to be one near you somewhere. So check out Guadalupe's Shrimp Po' Boy Palace and tell them Dave sent you. Now back to the show.
So I want to kick this off.
Okay.
Loyal listeners,
plural.
I'm going to quit pretending that I'm talking to multiple people. Chris, you remember?
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Down the road,
other people will hear this.
We are going to have other people listen to this podcast.
Okay, so we started this bonus episode directly after the recording of episode 45.
Correct.
So loyal listeners know that I hate musicals.
Mm-hmm.
But I came to the realization through multiple discussions that a movie that I really enjoy, Rocket Man, is indeed a musical.
Yes, it is.
Now I gave it a pass.
Okay.
Because it's Elton John's music. It was they were songs.
Wait, you don't like Elton John?
I do like Elton John.
Okay,
I have tickets to see Elton John next year.
Okay.
But they were songs written to be a song. Right?
Right. Yes.
It wasn't a guy walking down the street talking about walking down the street and I'm going to sing a song about it.
Right.
It was Elton John making music, and the movie made that into a musical to illustrate his life.
To take a rock band's name and make it into a verb, they abbed Elton John.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I gave that one a pass. So my kids are going right now. Charlie specifically is on a Rocky kick. Andrew was before. We went through the Rocky movies. Now I'm going through them again with Charlie. So we hit Rocky IV.
Right.
All right. I really like Rocky IV. It's one of the first Rocky movies I distinctly remember going to the movies to see when I was a kid.
With the one with the Russian, right?
With Dolph Lundgren.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a musical. It is a musical.
There's no shortcut home.
No, it's an hour and a half long. It's an hour and a half long, or at least I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it is right now.
Well, the fight scene feels like an hour and a half
There's
long.
at least 30 minutes of montages and stuff just set to music, like music videos.
Yes.
And I know that this is when MTV was on the rise and all that. On the rise, like they overtook America. They kind of did.
Well, they did.
They did. But
then they went away.
As we were watching the movie, I'm like, every 5 to 10 minutes,
yes,
another montage started or another musical bit. And I'm like, halfway through it, I'm like, oh my God, one of my favorite movies as a kid and all through adulthood. I love the Rocky movies. I've talked about them ad infinitum on the show.
Too. Yeah.
Rocky IV is a musical.
Yeah.
There's so much in there. I mean, to further drive that point home on Spotify, because Spotify and Google and all these groups are listening, Facebook, they're listening to you on your phone. So it just puts up recommendations. Hey, maybe you want to listen to this. There's a Rocky soundtrack, the Spirit of Rocky or the something of Rocky.
Yeah.
It's almost all Rocky IV tunes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have on CD the best of the music from all the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
It has Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah,
has Burning Heart.
That's from 4.
By Survivor.
Yeah,
my first rock concert was Bryan Adams in Survivor.
That's awesome.
Okay, and it has a No Easy Way Out.
That's from 4
by Robert Tepper.
Yeah.
Okay, Living in America.
That's from 4.
That's from 4. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. James Brown has a whole thing. So, I mean, we literally just watched this the other night. we got those three that you mentioned.
Mhm.
There's a musical number with Polly's robot. The one where if you watch it now, you think that robot's doing a little bit more than bringing him beer.
Hey, Polly, hey, Hey, Polly, a snow cone, Polly.
Polly, I will clean that up for you. That robot thing.
Right.
All right.
I love you too, Polly.
You've got the war music montage. It's on the soundtrack. That's what happens in the middle of the fight with Drago, between Rocky and Drago.
With like the iron.
It kicks in. It's like it's kind of like the training montage, which is another musical thing. They have the Hearts on Fire, where Rocky's running up the mountain. By that thing.
John, I can't remember who did Hearts on Fire.
Yeah, you've got your usual Rocky music, dan dan da da dan da da dan da da da.
Okay,
and then a thing that Rocky did, the Rocky series did, that they don't do anymore, and I wish they did, is they always played the last 5 minutes of the previous Rocky movie to begin the next Rocky movie. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So there's the music that's involved in that.
Yeah.
So you put all that together. I was doing this math in my head today when I should have been doing work.
Right.
At least 30% of that movie is a music video.
Yeah.
And the realization, the point where I made that realization, there's a moment where Rocky wants to go fight Drago.
Yeah.
Apollo's dead.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. I'm sorry for a 40-year-old movie or whatever. Apollo's dead. He feels like he needs to go fight. What's her face? Adrian is like, no, you don't need to go do that. What are you trying to prove? He goes out. He gets in his Ferrari. Now, okay. So Rocky 1 and 2. Southpaw is the license plate.
Yeah.
So in the early movies,
STHPA,
like movie 1 or 2, he's like he looked weird when he was young. Let's be honest. He like started looking normal in Rocky 3 and Rocky 4.
He finally grew into his face.
He grew into his face, like it stretched out over his skull correctly. Before that, he just looks like his name's Biff, and then after that, it looks like his name is Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I ever meet him and he ever listens to this and he wants to kick my butt. I'm sorry.
He can.
He looked weird back then. But anyway, the point is that he's going off for a drive because he's mad at Adrian, and it is the most
longest montage
MTV-ish.
You're exactly right.
Teen angst. He's driving, and it's got this like ding 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 ding, and he's like looking off. He's looking forlorn, and he's shifting right
close
when the
up
beat
of the
hits.
eyes, close up
And
of the
I'm like,
hand.
This all it needs. You remember
see the brake and the clutch going out.
You remember MTV had those little like words like what the title and
the exclusive.
That's all it needed, and it's an MTV music video. And like that's when it hit me. Oh my God, I'm watching basically a Chicago, or I'm name another musical, Les Mis, or whatever the hell these people watch that like musicals.
Wicked.
I like musicals now because there's Rocket Man and Rocky 4.
So
they both have rock in the name.
So you're ready to watch The Greatest Showman, right?
That one doesn't have songs written to be songs because in Rocky, those songs were written to be songs. The only one that was tainted by the movie or touched by the movie was Eye of the Tiger.
Right.
That one was in there for a bit because when the two gloves, the American and the Russian glove, come up, it's Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone worked with Survivor to put that together. So that's the closest it became to being a musical in terms of him tainting the music. The Greatest Showman to me seems like a guy's going to walk into a elephant thing and sing about a poop.
I'm telling you, if you would just trust me, if you would just believe me, I was the same way.
I don't want Hugh Jackman to start singing about something.
Listen to me. Stop being such an arrogant. It went for years. I didn't watch this movie because I thought my kids aren't going to sit through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I finally tried it out on Disney Plus. Okay.
Oh, it's free. So it's on there.
It's on Disney Plus. I'm 5 minutes into it and I pause it and I look at the family like, okay, this is amazing. And they're all like, yeah, why did you pause it?
Hey, what happened?
I was totally digging it. Libby was digging it. Both the boys were on, just could not stop watching that. So you're finally starting to get into some cool musicals. This is the coolest, most jamming musical. Yeah. I love it. Absolutely love it.
All right.
Back to Rocky.
Okay.
What did you think about the Creed movies?
I love the Creed movies.
They were amazing.
The movie, the Rocky. So and I think I mentioned this in episode 45.
I thought we were done with Rocky.
I did
right?
too. I thought we were done with Rocky Balboa.
Right.
I've never seen Rocky 5. So I have the Rocky series over here.
You don't
and
need to.
We own Creed 1 and 2 on Vudu.
You don't need
So we
to.
have all the movies. I've never seen 5. Charlie wants to watch it next, so I will see it for the first time.
Okay.
I know it has something to do with him training some guy that ends up being a and then he has to fight him, and there's like a street fight.
They're
something
fighting
weird
in
with
the
this
street.
kid.
Yeah, it's no rules. Fighting bare knuckle.
Yeah,
with
so
hitting each
I
other
think-
with garbage cans.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
And
Rocky.
Sylvester Stallone said that he tried as hard as he could to burn every copy of that. He couldn't buy them back.
Yeah.
He couldn't wipe people's memories clean.
Yeah.
And so that's why he made Rocky Balboa.
Rocky Balboa is
Right.
an amazing.
It was
film.
great. It was great.
I loved so, and I knew so having not seen Rocky 5, I knew Rocky 5 was a stinker.
yeah.
And then Rocky Balboa came out, and I can be easily marketed to.
Mm-hmm.
So my idiot mind said, "Oh, it's called Rocky Balboa. This
Right.
must be like a reboot or a cool new direction." And it was basically Rocky 1, kind of, but
Yeah.
he's like an old dude, and he's trying to get back into it. But
Spoiler alert: Adrian was gone, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, he's like owns a little diner. He owns
Adrian's.
her diner,
yeah,
Adrian.
Adrian.
And then, Creed 1, I kind of watched that one. The
Yeah.
only reason I watched Creed was because Rocky Balboa was so good.
Mhm.
And I thought the only reason this guy's going back to the well is
Yeah.
if he has something else to tell. That's before Rambo 5 came
Right.
out. And
Well,
I
let me
saw
tell you
that he
something.
can go back, and
Life's not about how hard you hit.
it's
It's
about
how hard you get hit and get back up.
That's right.
Keep moving forward.
Yeah. So Sylvester Stallone, yeah. So we started talking a little bit about in the episode.
I want
I've
Sylvester
become-
Stallone to be a guest on the show.
I have
We'll
become
edit out the part of him growing into his face.
I am a diehard Sylvester Stallone fan. I
Yeah.
thought he was kind of goofy. I always, as a kid, I loved the Rocky movies.
Yeah,
I think everybody
who
does.
didn't?
My kids now, there's something timeless about those movies. My
Yeah.
kids now love them.
Yeah.
Andrew came down while we were watching Rocky 4, and he was like glued to the seat watching the fight with Drago. He just couldn't, and Charlie was losing his mind. But he kind of in the 80s, and I thought about this a little bit today. Back in the 80s, Sylvester Stallone movies were surrounded by Arnold Schwarzenegger and all those type of 80s type movies. They all kind of seemed samey.
Yeah.
And Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger had this weird competition with each other, which we've talked.
Stallone did stop where my mom would shoot because he heard Schwarzenegger was going to do it.
Yeah. So people, and when I try to explain to, younger people is they don't so when they look back, everybody kind of knows Sylvester Stallone's story now, that he was, broke. He used his last dollar to do Rocky. They offered him a lot of money, and he was like, "No, I need to be the star." He sold his dog,
right?
Because he was homeless. Right. I mean, that's a story.
And then he
man.
bought the dog back.
He bought the dog back. But you look at the story of Rocky, a lot of that like mirrors his own life.
Yeah, they wanted to make it, but without him.
Yeah,
and he's like, "No dice. There's no way you're doing this unless I'm in it."
So we didn't know that when we were going through the 80s. I didn't know that.
Right.
And then
I was a kid.
He kind of had this thing of like he was kind of
70s.
Yeah. Well, then all through the 80s were like the Rocky 3 and 4 and those. But he also had like this meathead kind of thing, and like idiot me as a kid was like, well, that's what he's playing as Rocky.
He's taking too many hits to the head.
In Rambo,
he never blocks his face.
In Rambo, he's playing like a disturbed vet that can't, and you see later he's got a lot of range with Copland and freaking Rocky Balboa.
Copland
is badass.
Yes.
And then you realize he wrote all this stuff. The dude's a smart guy. The dude's amazing. So as we get older, I mean, you talk to me again in 10 years, I'll be throwing him up for like an Academy Award for whatever. I'm like it.
So he was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. And it's like, he was a sentimental favorite and he lost.
Yeah.
Okay. And, I can't remember how many people have been nominated for the same character twice, but it's a very small number of people.
Right.
But here's the thing about Sylvester Stallone. He's a movie star. He's made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But what he's done that not a lot of people have done was not only did he, become rich and famous and whatever, he created the character of Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Okay, more than a character. When you see Rocky, it instills that part of your heart and the image, and it makes your mind want to
Succeed.
And
push.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it did. And he touched people's hearts.
Yeah, he did.
Just inspired, he encouraged, and he is just a role model for, oh my God.
Absolutely.
And then it's like any single person who's ever trained for anything at one time has heard dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun dun. You know.
Well, that and plus with the Expendables. I mean, walk with me down this road for a minute here.
I was like, we're not getting into these.
We're going to get into them
Kelsey
briefly.
Grammer was in the Expendables.
We're going to get into him briefly because what the Expendables is a guy nearing the end of his life, and he just wants to do something fun with his friends.
And I'm going to bring every single person I know.
Yeah, it's like him and Arnold Schwarzenegger have been close friends. He's been close friends. He brought back Dolph Lundgren, all these people he's worked with.
Harrison Ford was in it.
I don't think Sylvester Stallone gave one, whether anybody saw that movie or not. It was all about getting together with his buddies and shooting.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of that. I love
He got Harrison Ford to be in one of those.
He did.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of him.
Yeah.
And he got, I think, Van Damme. There were a couple people that poo-pooed him.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
They poo-pooed him in the beginning, but then after they saw that they were awesome and fun, they kind of came into it.
Tell me, why was Kelsey Grammer in that movie?
I don't know.
He stood out.
I also...
Like, you might as well put Bob Ross.
Yeah. So you have these examples of where... Sylvester Stallone is doing all this awesome stuff. And then you go back and you look at Demolition Man. Ooh. And Cobra.
Yeah. Cobra.
I love Cobra. But it changes it for me. So
Tango and Cash was really good.
So back when I was a kid, and I'll get off this topic in a minute, I loved Above the Law with Steven Seagal.
Yes.
Steven Seagal is kind of
he's a nut.
I've never met him, but he's kind of crazy and he's kind of a jerk.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Of what I've seen on the YouTubes.
Mm-hmm.
But the more that I hear of how genuine and nice and generous Sylvester Stallone is, it allows me to go back and see Cobra and think that he was kind of he knew he looked like a badass.
Yeah.
He wanted to do something different. Got the matchstick,
the sunglasses,
he's just like,
the jacket.
He's like eating this 80s up.
I remember the only line I remember from that was he said he always wished his name was Alice.
Well, I always wanted to have a tougher one myself. Something a little harder name.
Like what?
Alice.
Yeah, it's a good movie, man. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, we went a long way around the block there. But yeah, I finally admit, I think I'm going to have to stop saying that I hate musicals because I like Rocky IV.
Yeah, Rocky IV was badass.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really good.
This portion of our show is brought to you by the Extra Salt Shaker. Hi, I'm Dave Lay, and my wife and I love having company over for dinner. But there's always that one guest who's always asking for the salt. And that's why there's the new Extra Salt Shaker. When you have the Extra Salt Shaker, you can eat your meal and have fun conversation without worrying if the other guests have enough flavor on their food. Also, people will think you're loaded. On the way home, they'll say, "Did you notice that they had an Extra Salt Shaker?" The Extra Salt Shaker, available where salt shakers are sold. Now, back to the show.
So, speaking of violence,
right? Speaking of not covering your face,
so I used to be in the Taekwondo.
Right.
Some call it Taekwondo.
Right. Some people who are correct call it Taekwondo.
There was a group around here that calls it the Taekwondo, and they would scream that out at the tournaments, and we would all look at them like, "What the hell?"
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in Taekwondo, I took it with Andrew.
Okay. That's when I first met you.
Yeah. And so Beth said, "Oh, it's family style. They encourage the parents to take it along with the kids. It's fun. It'll be a hoot." And it was fun. Mm-hmm. And it was a hoot until we got to the point where a tournament was coming up. And our leaders, the masters would say, we encourage everyone to take part in the tournaments. Mm-hmm. Okay. So in the tournament, you have the option to pick one, or I think it's two of three things. Okay, so they had breaks where you have to break something. Mm-hmm. They had forms where you have to memorize.
Wait, hold it back over a second.
Yeah.
So for break,
you would
break something.
Well, you have to intentionally use a part of your body to
I just
break.
want to make sure I'm following you here.
They had forms. So there's forms and where like movements and stuff. So you look at the old kung fu movies where the dude is standing there in the sun and just doing all these movements. So you have to memorize those things for a period of time and do them perfectly. And then you had sparring.
Right.
So when I had to pick my two, forms was completely out because that requires memorizing things. I figured breaks will be easy because I'm 220. You put any part of my body towards one of those pieces of wood, it's breaking. Whether or not it's my fist, my head, my stomach, something's going to go through that board. That's going to be relatively easy. I just get a piece of my body heading towards it. I'll be fine. And I'm like, sparring.
Do not try this at home.
Yeah. Sparring only lasts maybe 30 seconds or so. So something that I kind of blew by in my mind when we started the Taekwondo is they said, when we do sparring and things like that, there's no punching to the face.
Okay.
I was like, okay, that's good. That's good.
Right.
You don't want to teach children to punch people.
I don't know about
face.
you, but I hate getting punched in the face.
And they said kicks to the face are encouraged.
What'd you say?
Wait.
Exactly. Now, to me,
what?
To me,
I'd rather get punched in the face
I'd rather
than kick
get
to the face.
punched than kicked to the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they don't see it that way.
Uh-huh.
So then we get to the tournament. Okay. We go through the breaks. That was relatively.
That's how Danny LaRusso won.
Yeah, exactly. He cheated.
Right. That was not allowed.
Yeah. So we get to the breaks. And sure enough, I was supposed to, I think, hit
that's where you break something.
Yeah, I was supposed to hit it with my elbow. I think I hit it with the flabby part of the back, but it broke. So I didn't win.
2 points, my total.
But I broke it.
Okay.
They do all the forms. So everybody's doing all their stuff. Then they get to the sparring part. Now, if you watch the kids spar, they have some sort of respect for other people and their lives and pain. They're doing their things. You go over to the adults, and I was with the adults. Those people have watched way too many movies like what we've been talking about.
Right.
And they are fulfilling some sort of, I'm going to be the guy from Gymkata, or I'm going to be the guy with the afro from Enter the Ninja. I'm going to hurt somebody.
Right. I'm going to be Chuck Norris.
They are throwing kicks at faces left and right. And I watched a gentleman. Now, this is 2 sparring bouts before me.
Right.
So I'm the next. There's one before me, and then there's this one, that's going before it. One guy, the heel of his foot, I remember seeing it hit the nose and the mouth, and I saw blood spray on the gym floor, and the guy went down.
Well, yeah.
And he got up, and he was kind of laughing, and he had blood coming out of it. So they have a thing, if they see blood.
Because that's hilarious.
Yeah, if they see blood, it's over.
Right.
Okay, and the guy that kicked wins. I was like, I don't know that's or forfeit. I don't remember what they said. I saw blood. And I'm like, oh my God. And I look up and I see Bess is up in the stands, and she had been filming with the phone. And she looks, and
there's no film in your phone.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
She, from like 200 feet away, I see her mouth. Oh my God.
Right.
And I mouth back, no.
Right.
And then the next guy up, he got kicked in the chest. Okay. They're throwing kicks left and right. When I came up, I got no points. I got no hits on the person. And I had bruises all up and down the front part of my arm because all I did was block my head and neck from these feet that were flying at me, because I'll be damned if I'm getting a broken nose because somebody's fulfilling a Steven Seagal fantasy.
Right.
And they're trying to kick me. I'm here with my kid, trying to do the tournament with them, stand side by side with them. But I ain't letting you people like change my life permanently on my face.
Right. You don't want to break your nose and look like Owen Wilson the rest of your life.
Yeah. So this is a warning to all adults out there, at least in the Taekwondo that was near here. If you go into tournaments for some reason, kicking to the face is just fine. So before you go in Taekwondo, be aware you could get kicked in the face. Yeah. And that's just fine.
I'm not about getting kicked in the face.
I'm not either.
I don't like getting kicked anywhere now that I think about it.
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's like, could you stop kicking me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jacob the floor.
That was a long time ago.
Okay.
So since this is our bonus episode, I'm bringing up an oldie but a goodie.
Okay.
Now, I think we were like 2 episodes in, and Don Smith decided to have us on his podcast, The Life Radio Show, and promote our podcast.
Yeah.
I told this story on his show, and then I realized we've never talked about it on ours.
Okay.
So this is perfect
Oh, yeah.
for a bonus episode. So when Jacob was little, he was 5, I think.
Okay.
He went through a phase, and this is probably what made me irritable. This is what turned me into one of the 2 irritable dads on this podcast. So when he was 5, he wouldn't listen to anything I wanted him to do. And there's one particular day. Now, let me back up. Libby worked days and I worked nights. So our paths didn't cross. I had Jacob by myself in the morning. She had Jacob by herself at night. And we would see each other on the weekends. So I would often give Jacob a grade of how he performed before I took him to daycare.
Okay.
And Libby would call and ask, and I would say he had a D today, or some mornings it was an F. There was a couple of days where he had an F plus. This one particular day, anything I wanted him to do, he would not do. He didn't want to get out of bed.
Nothing.
He didn't want to take off his pajamas.
Okay.
He didn't want to put on his clothes.
Okay.
He didn't want to get. He didn't want to eat breakfast, and then he didn't want to get away from the table.
Yep.
He would not go to the bathroom for me. Okay. I could not get him to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
He didn't want to get in the car, and then he didn't want to get out of the car.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he used to go to physical therapy because he had tightened heel cords. He was a toe walker. He walked on his tiptoes.
Okay.
So I'm taking him to physical therapy, and now we're there, and he won't listen to anything the physical therapist wants him to do.
Of course.
I'm like, buddy, listen to Miss Megan or whatever her name is. And then he's like all, up in my grill. And finally, Megan or whatever her name was, she says, Dad, why don't you sit over there?
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? You got a point because I am the problem. Yeah. And I wasn't being smart. She's right. He's not listening to her because I'm there. So I go over and I'm sitting down.
Okay.
Across the room. And then he starts doing what she wants him to do. About 5 minutes later, he comes running over to me holding a certain part of his body. He says, I gotta go potty.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So we go to the first bathroom that was nearby.
Yeah.
It was locked.
Okay.
So I run him down to the next available bathroom, which is in the lobby.
Okay.
We get in there and he's dancing. I gotta go potty. Pull his pants down to lift him up and starts falling everywhere. And I'm like slow motion, and I'm like trying to carry him over and put him on the toilet. Yeah. And is dropping, plop, plop, plop. It's on the side of the sink.
Yeah.
It's on the floor. It's down the side of the toilet.
Yeah.
Mike, it's everywhere.
Once it starts, it's just you just gotta let it finish.
The dam broke.
Yeah.
Okay. The dam exploded. And I got him on the toilet.
Yeah.
And this is where I take my glasses off my face and I just put my head in my hands.
Yeah.
And Jacob looks at me and he says, damn it. And I said, yeah, this is a damn it.
So what do? Do you leave all that there or do you clean it up?
I cleaned it up.
Okay.
I cleaned it all up.
That's respectable.
I'm not leaving that for somebody else.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Jacob is 5. Okay.
Yeah.
He hadn't had an accident and I can't remember how long.
Okay.
I didn't have a change of clothes for him.
Oh.
Okay. And his clothes are covered in.
Yeah.
So my wife is home with Cameron.
Yeah.
I call her up and I said, honey, can you please come to physical therapy and bring Jacob a change of clothes? To which she said, Darin, honey, I've told you over and over again that you need to, you need to put clean clothes in the bag and have that ready. I said, honey, listen, if you love me, if you have any feelings,
the time for that is over.
If there's any compassion left in your heart for me, if there's any spark left, you will drive over, bring me a change of clothes, and take our son with you somewhere. And she said, okay.
Yeah.
So I did a Mr. Mom. I mean, I cleaned up all the cleaned up the whole bathroom. I also popped my head out the door and told the secretary, "Will you tell Megan we're not coming back?" Close the door. I'm like, all I did is all you had to do was go potty. That's all you had to do this morning. Why wouldn't you go potty? And Jacob's like, "I'm sorry, Daddy." I'm like, "All you had to do was go potty." I'm sorry, Daddy. I cleaned that all up, and I just took all the paper towels and just wrapped them around Jacob.
So he looks like Pebbles or Bam Bam
exactly.
from the
Well,
Flintstones.
no, that's what Mr. Mom did. Michael Keaton.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Wrapped the kid around in the paper towels. And I walked out and I put him in the car.
Yeah.
And the engine was on, the AC, and I stood outside the car. And when Libby came, I'm like, he's in the back seat. And I said, "Jacob, I love you. I will see you when I get back from work." And I gave Libby a kiss.
Yeah.
And I drove to work. And that was one of the worst experiences of being a parent.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And, we joke about Jacob, because he was hard. Okay. He was a rough kid.
Yeah.
Okay. We earned our money on Jacob. And we keep telling him, like, why we had a second kid is beyond me.
Coming up on the next episode of Irritable Dad Syndrome.
No Daffy? You have 5 Darvins and no Daffy? Darvin? I mean, what, did someone just match Darin and Marvin together and think that that's a clever name?
Plus, you may be cutting your fingernails wrong on the next Irritable Dad Syndrome.
I'm going to be very careful with this story.
Okay.
Because I don't want to betray too much information.
Okay.
So I've interviewed people in the past.
Okay.
So when you think you've been to job interviews, you have a job.
Yeah.
I assume that they spoke to you at some
you
point.
don't mean like 60 minutes
interviewing
somebody.
No. I mean a
You've
job
interviewed
interview.
people for a job.
That's correct.
Yes.
So I had, and we've just gone through, some people interview over the internet. Indeed. Or not Indeed. Good God. What is it called? Zoom.
Plenty of fish?
Zoom.
Teams?
Yeah. Teams,
Yep.
Zoom.
Yeah, okay.
That type of thing. If you're doing a long remote or whatever, it saves money. They don't have to come in, all that stuff. So I had a Zoom interview. And, so there's a time, both parties agree to a time. I have interviewed for a job over Zoom. Okay. And I've been down here in this basement while doing it. So I get dressed up. I put a dress shirt. I put a tie. May or may not have put on pants. Don't really care.
Right.
But I've made sure that there weren't any weird things behind me.
You did the John Krasinski.
You did the John Krasinski.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed like that. So there's still a certain level of decorum that's expected during an interview. So I have this gentleman, and I log into the interview, and I don't really see anything on the screen.
Right.
But that's okay, because some people, they leave their cameras off for whatever reason. So saying, hello.
A lot of people don't like how they look on the computer cameras.
They're not always very flattering.
Well, the lighting is horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unless you have an O-ring.
And you know what? Sometimes it's hard on your internet. Not everybody has like broadband and all this super internet, and the camera just
cuts out. Yeah,
exactly. So
looks
they're just
like
going to do audio.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, this is. I introduce myself. I understand you're interviewing for exposition. I don't hear anything, except this light buzzing in the background, and I'm. Hello, this is Mike, such and such is interviewing for the thing. And I realized that that's a TV in the background that I hear. Like it sounds, I hear like characters talking on TV. And I listen for a bit.
Dude's asleep.
He's asleep. Now, I have been through a lot of different interviews on both sides of the table.
Yeah.
I've never had anyone fall asleep during an interview. I've had people that have like worked doubles or whatever, and they're really tired and they're having trouble staying awake. Never had anybody just completely conk out. I have absolutely never, until this point, had someone show up to the interview unconscious. Now, I did my due diligence. I tried to make a lot of noise. Yeah. And then, it's the whole thing. I tried to scare him awake. And then the only response I got back, that. So he didn't get the job. I'm sure he's fine.
I mean, it's like people can't be upset because you didn't hire him. It was like, well, you didn't.
Here's the theory.
You didn't do the interview, so how could you tell if he's a good candidate for the job?
Well, I want people.
Also, guy likes to sleep at 2 PM or whatever time it was.
So I want people to understand the full reality of what happened. It's not like he's running a webcam out of his house and he's on there 24/7. And I just happened to. It's not like the Truman Show,
right?
Where he's sleeping and he's cooking breakfast and all that. He agreed to a time.
Yeah,
this was a set time that we were supposed to meet. And I'll admit I was 2 or 3 minutes late.
Right.
But I think if you're showing up for an interview, it's generally standard business practice to expect someone to remain awake for the interviewer to enter the Zoom call.
Right.
So, yeah. Right. So, helpful job hunting tip. Stay conscious. It helps.
Drink some Mountain Dew.
Yeah, because there's not much I can do from there. I can't say you answered the questions well.
Right.
It's hard for me to recommend that you get the position.
Right.
It's hard for me even to determine if you're alive other than the sound of your snoring.
Plus, I mean, it's like if the guy's going to fall asleep during an interview, how do you know he's not going to fall asleep during work? How's he going to pull a Homer Simpson?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
You're listening to Irritable Dad Syndrome, Cincinnati's comedy podcast.
That is without question the funniest story I've ever heard.
We live in Cincinnati.
Yes.
And you were talking about musicals, and this reminded me of something.
Okay.
Years ago, some friends of mine, Sandy and Leanne, came up from Knoxville. They were in town, and we bought tickets to see The Producers at the Aronoff Center. The Aronoff Center, if you're ever in Cincinnati, you want to go to a show, go to the Aronoff Center.
That's the place to go.
It's the place to go. It is a beautiful theater. The sound is fantastic. The people are great, and you will truly enjoy the theatrical experience at the Aronoff. Okay, so we go to see The Producers. Now, at the time, I used to work at a TV station downtown. You could park there for free.
Yeah.
So we parked at the station, and we walked, I want to say 5 blocks, and then 2 over. So the equivalent of about 7 city blocks. Okay. And Sandy and Leanne are a little nervous. They're like, is it safe to walk back? I'm like, yeah, we're going to be just fine. So when we walk to the show, sun's still out.
Okay.
After the show, it's dark. We're walking out of the play.
Okay.
A guy approaches us.
All right.
It's Sandy, Leanne, me, and Libby. A guy approaches us and starts talking to me. Of course. The one person who's there is talking to me. He says, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And usually the first thing they say is, do you have any money?
Yeah.
In which I say, I don't have cash on me. I'm sorry. Thank you. And good night and whatever. He says, I need to talk to you about something. And I'm like, okay. And he says, I was just down by the river because Cincinnati has the Ohio River.
Yeah.
That separates Cincinnati from Kentucky.
Yeah.
I was just by the river.
Okay.
And I swear to God, I saw a beaver. And I said, I'm intrigued. I said, really?
Yeah.
He says, yeah.
A river beaver.
A beaver. I said, are you sure?
Yeah.
And he says, yeah, that had to have been a beaver. Now, Sandy and Leanne are huffing it.
Now, what time is this? What time
this is 11.
Okay. Yeah.
Like 11 o'clock, something like that, Sandy and Leanne are double timing it. Yeah. They're walking even. It's like they just keep going and going and going, right? And Libby and I are left to talk to this guy about the beaver. Yeah. He says, I swear to God, I saw a beaver. I'm like, okay. And he says, I mean, you don't think, and I said, what? I said that and he's leaving me to finish his thought. Yeah. You don't think that, and I'm like, that he's going to
attack,
chew up some logs and build a dam and block up the Ohio River? He goes, yeah. And I said, I don't think that's going to happen. Where's he going to get all the wood?
It's like a beaver conspiracy theorist at 11 o'clock at night.
And he's like, I don't know. And then this guy's on our left. Okay. To our right, another person comes up.
Okay.
And he says, excuse me, sir. He says, I wonder if you might be able to, maybe give me some money because Christmas ain't Christmas without the one you love. And Libby and I are looking at each other. We're like, what the actual hell is going on
Tell
here?
that guy, did you hear about the damn beavers over here?
And we actually stopped because we were laughing so hard. The guy talking about the beaver and the other dude singing the OJ's Christmas album walk off together. And the last thing I heard was, I swear to God, man, it was a beaver. Sandy and Leanne are 3 blocks ahead of us.
Oh,
and I'm
my God.
Like, you just missed the greatest homeless person story of all time.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't get much better than that.
Plus, what if these guys were dangerous? Thanks for leaving us for dead. Darin can handle himself. I'll just kick him in the face. Maybe I should have saved that for the regular show.
I think we should flip these episodes. We should. Well, they get their money's worth.
They're absolutely going to get their money. I do want the people to know that when we said we were going to make a bonus episode,
we're not screwing around.
By God, let's make a bonus episode. Let's make it a real bonus.
Yeah.
So for the people who are listening to this, thank you so much for subscribing.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
I hope you go to irritabledadsyndrome.com and there's going to be a lot more bonus content because whenever we have outtakes, we throw those on the website. Whenever we have
we put them on the Patreon.
We put them on the Patreon, yeah. It's like when Dave Lay records commercials with cuss words, the uncensored ones, they're going on the Patreon page.
Yep. So we'll put stuff like that on the Patreon, and keep doing it.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah.
And
you know what? Just the fact that you guys said we like this show so much, we're financially going to back it.
That
cool. means the world to me. And I honestly cannot thank you enough. So thank you for listening to our show. Thank you for being loyal members, and we hope to talk to you again on Irritable Dad Syndrome.
Wow, can you believe you actually paid to hear that? Find more exclusive content at irritabledadsyndrome.com.